keeping the good vibes going. The Train on the Tracks, episode 133 of The Next Best Bet. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy, as always, and we got some NBA and NHL seasons wrapping up. The MLB is in full swing. Before we get to our picks and those on Monday, Brett, let's talk about hindsight with Higgins. And I went 2-2-1, falling victim to another push, almost like the baseball gods telling me, you don't bet against DeGrom, and we're going to give you this warning.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad that I didn't have to be mad at you for beating Jacob DeGrom, Higgins. And, our Capitals, I missed on mine. You missed on your pick of the pod as well. So I still have the little lead there. But you hit on your Caps pick, which is always nice. I stayed hot in baseball, which is nice, Higgins. So at least we got that going for each one of us.
I also got my Diamondbacks money line pick in
There it
baseball as well.
is.
But you are 8-2 in the MLB to start off the season, Brett. So we're going to get to those MLB picks a little bit later. But let's begin with the Beginner's Boulevard that actually happened tonight while we were doing this rundown. Off the board, shortened to OTB sometimes, and this is when there is a line or you see a game up, but their lines are locked or not there anymore. So this is going to be an example of something that happened in the NBA, Brett. But off the boards, if you're betting early, betting late, you have the chance of running up to this risk of the bets locking up on you.
Yeah, there's also a chance, a line could get pulled because of COVID now, or definitely due to an injury of a star player. Like they have to reassess, reevaluate some things. A quarterback in football would cause that. So, there's a few reasons why this happens, Higgins. So you may have to do a little research to figure out why it's off the board, and then when it comes back, reassess what your comfort level will be.
Absolutely. And let's just jump right into the NBA with my example of the Beginner's Boulevard of off the board. And that is in the Jazz Lakers game, Brett, because as I was looking at the Oregon scoreboard sports book, I had the Suns line and I had the Jazz line. And I decided to take the Jazz minus 4.5 against the Lakers. But right after I placed it, shortly after it opened, it locked up and I only got the Suns, so I was fortunate to take it where it is right now. We'll see where it opens on Monday. But here's why I like the Jazz. Even though they have kind of fallen back a little to earth recently, they're at 5-5 over the past 10 games against the spread. They're still one of the best teams in the NBA against the spread. They're number 5 in the NBA behind Memphis, the Knicks, Phoenix, and the Clippers. So give me the Jazz against a Lakers team that they just faced on Saturday night and lost to in overtime. I don't expect Drummond, Schroeder, and Caldwell Pope to be able to put that up again against the Jazz. I think they'll get the revenge game against them and finish off their regular series 3-game sweep. Sorry, not 3-game sweep. They'll go 2-1 against the Lakers on the season.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I'm excited to watch that one. The Lakers are, nearing full health. They're not there yet, but LeBron and AD seem to be on their way back. So a healthy Lakers team, you got to think, is the favorite to make it out of West, Higgins. But like you said on Monday night, the Lakers will not be healthy. The Jazz, obviously, Donovan Mitchell's ankle, he'll probably be out. But I still like what the Jazz bring to the table. Clarkson's been great all year. Ingles has played well as well. So Utah's, a very good pick here.
Yeah, Mitchell and Azubuike are already listed as out for the Jazz, so we know that. But
Perfect.
you're right. The Lakers, they have AD already listed as out. LeBron's listed as out. And I wouldn't expect them to bring back those two against a team like the Jazz in the regular season. They'd try to look for an easier game to ease them into the NBA pace. I also have another pick, like I said. I liked both lines, Brett, I saw in the NBA with the Suns plus 2.5 against the Bucks. The Bucks have been easing Giannis back into their lineup kind of recently, and the Suns are one of the best teams in the NBA, like I mentioned earlier, against the spread. With Utah, they're at number 5. Phoenix, they're number 3 in the NBA, recently falling from being the number 1 team in the NBA against the spread. I expect Plus 2.5 at plus 100 odds is fantastic value, and it's not going to stay there for long, so I took that tonight.
Yeah, I like that Phoenix pick a lot, Higgins. I think the Suns are the most disrespected team in the league this year. Now, part of that may be like how true of a test is the regular season. Guys sick, guys miss time due to injuries. I think you and we just discussed the Lakers, when healthy, are probably the favorites in the West. So, they're missing a lot of their pieces right now and struggling. They're a much better team than they've shown of late. The Clippers, Kawhi sits all the time. So maybe part of it is how we weigh the regular season now, but I love the Phoenix Suns plus 2.5 in this spot, but I'm staying away from it, Higgins, just for you. I didn't want to pick it, but I still found myself on two NBA games on Monday night.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you staying off the Suns. And one last little factoid: they only played one time earlier this season, and the Suns won at home by 1 point. So we'll see what that means now. I mean, both teams were at full strength back then. It should be a pretty healthy game on Monday night, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely going to be fun to watch. First game I'm on, Higgins, the Bulls at the Celtics. Since the Vucevic trade, the Bulls have stunk, Higgins. It's been quite surprising. Zach Levine is going to miss some games for personal reasons. So give me Boston -6, who's playing really well right now. Jason Tatum has been as hot as anyone in the league. Well, maybe not Steph. Steph's been incredible. So Jason Tatum's been as hot as anyone not named Steph Curry over the last few games. And, I like the Celtics in this spot. A team that's playing well versus a team that's struggling a bit, missing a key player. I think 6 is a good line there.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics, they've covered their past 5 games in a row, coming back home, getting a good win against the Warriors like they recently just did. Why not take them at home again? I completely agree with this pick.
And then the last NBA game I'm gonna find myself on, Higgins, Thunder at Wizards. Little Russell Westbrook revenge game here, but it's actually just a play on the standings. Every game matters for the Wizards. They actually have a chance to potentially climb all the way up to the 8th spot. I could see them. So I think the Wizards are highly motivated right now. Thunder, no SGA. Lou Dort's been great for the Thunder, but I don't think that's enough to stop Beal and Westbrook. So give me Washington -10.5.
The Thunder have lost 10 straight. I see no chance of them stopping that streak right now. I'm not sure about the spread, but maybe look for a Wizards attachment in a parlay for like a money line play. I would like that.
Yeah, I've -560 right now, so it's a little steep. So you'd have to,
It would be an
really
anchor.
like a few things.
It would be an anchor. You'd have to throw it in with a few others, but it could work potentially. We'll see where it ends up.
I got you for sure.
But let's hop into the NHL, Brett, because as of late, I've had multiple days out in the NHL, which is great when you're planning a podcast that comes out on Mondays and Thursdays. So I have 3 days of NHL picks once again. But Brett, we're going to start on Monday because that's typically where you like to stay, right?
I do typically like to stay on Monday, Higgins. Unfortunately, with so much going on in baseball and basketball right now, I've been a little preoccupied. I got to be honest. And I didn't feel like I had an edge in any of these games on Monday night. Where I do think I have an edge, Higgins, is I'm going to auto fade the Canucks in their first game back. They're expected to return to the ice this week. Their head coach said on Sunday that they're going to be short 8 to 9 of their regular players, quote unquote. And Higgins, they've been on a 3 week hiatus due to COVID-19 in that team. So I would highly, highly suggest we all just fade the Canucks as soon as those lines come out because it's only going to get bet into the other way.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm following the numbers also with my pick on Monday night, Brett. We have the Sharks visiting Vegas playing the Golden Knights. And if you look at the numbers on the season, the Sharks on the road against the spread, they are fantastic at 15-9. So when I'm getting them at plus 1.5 at only minus 125 juice, I have to take that, especially when you consider the Golden Knights, they don't protect well at home against the book. It's weird. You'd think Vegas would be good at that, but they're not. They're 9-13. So I'm taking the team that comes into Vegas and typically when they're on the road does rather well against a team that can't really defend in Vegas. Seems like simple as logic, right?
Yeah, I think in the NHL, it seems that the Vegas hangover usually affects the teams the game after Vegas. They seem to play up to Vegas. Maybe it's because Vegas has been so good in their short time in the league, but that's where I think you get the Vegas hangover, Higgins. A lot of people think you fly in, you go right out, but it seems like maybe there's some partying after the game as opposed to the night before.
Yeah, and Vegas has won all five of their matchups so far, but the last two games were in Vegas and they were one goal victories. Just taking that into note. Let's take a look at my Tuesday pick, though, Brett, because we have New Jersey visiting the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the Devils, when they are at home, have been abysmal, but on the road, they're actually decent. And at +1.5 at -125, again, I have to take them because simply when you just look at the numbers, the Devils on the road, they're 14-6. And the Penguins, when you look at them when they're at home, they are 10-11, Brett. So the Devils on the road in Pittsburgh. Now, this game means a lot more for Pittsburgh, obviously, compared to New Jersey, who's at the bottom of the level. But the Devils would be no one. They would be unfit of their name if they didn't love to play spoiler. And history shows that they do like to be a thorn in teams' ankles around this time of the season. So I expect a competitive game. I like the juice at +1.5 at -125. I liked it on Monday, and I like it on Tuesday again in two separate games.
Fair enough, Higgins. I think, if you think you have a good line, you think you have a good line. I do not consider myself educated enough to give an informed take on what will happen between the Devils and the Penguins, but I do know, Pittsburgh obviously fighting for some seeding. Maybe they're a little motivated, but that won't really help score an extra goal.
And then just because I love to try to predict the future, Brett, I'm also going another day out. I'm picking a Wednesday game as well, but this time I'm picking an over under because I really don't know who's going to win in this Wild Coyotes game. It's too far out. There's too much that could happen between now and then. That's a lot of time. But you know what is going to happen probably? This over is going to hit while it's sitting at 5.5 at +100. We've talked about how we like those odds, especially when it's at plus odds with a 5.5, because you rarely see it at a 5. 5.5 is typically the lowest you see it. And the Wild on the road, 14-8 when hitting their overs. And then you look at the Coyotes at home, 13-8-1 when hitting their overs. So simple logic says both of these teams like to hit their overs in those situations. Combine it together, sounds like an over should be hit.
Yeah, Higgins, I think you laid out great numbers, and obviously, I'm a fan of the over 5.5 bet with the plus money. So I'm totally on board with this one. I really like this play. It makes a lot of sense.
And let's take a look at how the NHL's gone though recently for me for Brett, because I don't want to just be throwing out these numbers without showing that I'm actually doing decent in the NHL. I'm going 27, 23, and 1, and I've been picking it up a lot rather late. Our January started off rather slow for each of us, right?
Yeah, it was a rough start to the year, but we've bounced back nicely. You especially with some hockey picks here. You've been great keeping up with all the TikTok stuff, Higgins. It's like you and the D'Amelio sisters. That's it.
And we have your baseball picks as always, and we're gonna get to those in a second. But our Moneyline Magic, Brett, is a great baseball game that happened on Saturday night between the Marlins and the Giants because there was not one but two comebacks in an extra inning thriller.
Oh man, it was a great, great game. You are right, Higgins. The Marlins and the Giants was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, the Marlins started up by 3 going into at the end of the sixth inning, but the Giants would then score 5 inning, 5 runs in 1 inning, 9 batters, 2 home runs, including a leadoff homer by Brandon Belt, and then a pinch hit home run by Austin Slater that scored 3 runs, Brett. It was a big one.
Yeah, Slater's been really good for the Giants this year. I think, in fantasy leagues, Higgins, he can be played sometimes. Like, he's an absolutely guy that should be rostered. He's playing a lot for the Giants, and he's playing pretty well.
Yeah, and then the Giants basically flipped the tables there and nearly had a win. They're going into the bottom of the ninth, and then in the bottom of the ninth, they let up 2 straight singles. So you have people on the corners. And then very next batter, another single by Alfaro. Jorge Alfaro, the catcher, drives in a run, makes it 5-4. But back-to-back outs puts the Giants an out away from sealing this victory still. Sterling Marte singled up the center. Alfaro to second. Sierra scores. Tie ball game. We're going to extra innings, Brett.
Yeah, Sterling Marte proving his value to the Marlins once again. Huge timely hits. He's been a superstar for them this year. The Marlins have surprised some people, Higgins, and this is why timely hitting by Alfaro, by Marte, and it just keeps going.
And this is why I said in a recent episode, Brett, that I like late in games when you see a potential tie coming up. If you could have taken the over right after the Marlins tied it up in the ninth, potentially do it because the Giants in the top of the 10th, they score their runner that starts on second, don't get another runner across, so they have a 6-5 lead. And then the Marlins, they end up winning on a double that scores 2 and take a 7-6 win, Brett, because of these runners that start in scoring position.
Yeah, it's interesting, Higgins. Like, we discussed it, I think, a little bit. I don't hate it because we talk about how important pitcher health is, and you want to keep these guys available. So, like, I get it, you want to end the games, but man, is it unfair to these pitchers to start a guy on second with nobody out. It's really difficult to stop a team from scoring at this level, but Jorge Alfaro, you said it, man. He came up huge in this game, and this is a guy earlier in this year. Chad Wallach was playing. So Alfaro fighting for playing time, coming up big in extras, coming up big late in the game as well. That you love to see that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel with the runner starting on second. I'm still initially gut feeling not a huge fan of it, but I am starting to notice the value of taking a potential extra innings over. If you see that scenario with the runner starting on second, who knows how much that will boast these scores and turn these extra innings into thrillers, actually. You know what I mean? But today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to add our podcast, The Next Best Bet, in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. Now, Brett, heading into the MLB. You are the man. We've said it a few times. 8-2 so far. I'm not trying to lift your ego too much, but we have a decent listing of games on Monday, don't we not?
Yeah, we do, Higgins. Yeah, I feel like if anything, you've just piled on the pressure. I don't know. Definitely fade me today. But I'll start us off then, Higgins. I'm going Brewers Padres. It should be one of the bigger games of the day. These are two pretty good teams, Woodruff and Musgrove, both on the mound. So that's one of the better pitching matchups as well, Higgins. So I'm excited for this game in general. And it's truly a game where I could see either team winning. Milwaukee happens to be the dogs here at plus 130. And I think with San Diego coming off this Dodger series, there's the chance for a little bit of a letdown. the Milwaukee Brewers are familiar with Joe Musgrove from his time in the NL Central. So, I mean, I could play a scenario out in my mind where Milwaukee wins this game, and I can do it pretty easily. I can write that narrative. So I think at plus 130 odds, I'm just gonna take them on the money line and root for a good close game. And if it's close down the stretch, a timely hit here or there could make all the difference, Higgins.
It's a big pitcher matchup, that's for sure. Musgrove coming off of the no-hitter recently. How is his arm going to respond to that? How are his next few starts going to be? That'll be interesting to see. Woodruff has had a rather decent start as well. I like the value at the plus 130 personally, but I find myself on too many other of the baseball games, honestly, Brett, that I had to stay off of that game and a few others. We're going to start with the two Sox games, though, Brett. You want to be the White Sox or the Red Sox? I'm going to go with the Red Sox at home. And here's the simple reason why. The Red Sox are 6-0 when they're listed as underdogs so far. Ride the gravy train. They're at home. Plus 100. Take the gravy train, ride it home. They are going to win this game, I think, taking it plus 100 on the money line.
Yeah, no, it's a fair bet, Higgins. I like that stat. 6-0 when they're dogs. That's a good little nugget right there. It's also Patriots Day in Boston, Higgins, so a huge game for the Sox. It's the first time in a long time. I don't know the actual number, but a really long time that it won't coincide with the Boston Marathon. But the start time still as early as always, an 11 a.m. start. So why not take the dog here?
Absolutely. I like the dog, and they're at home. It feels like a good pick at Boston at home. You pick the Red Sox in that scenario, absolutely. I'm going to take another team that has an AL East involvement, but I'm going against the AL East in this one, Brett. Kansas City at home, minus 1.5 at plus 175, I think is some great value, even though it is against the Tampa Bay Rays team that you and I have both said that we do like. But if you listen to me real quick, the Rays early on against the spread, you look at it against their run line, they are number 5 right now in the MLB. 9-5, a 64.3 win percentage with nearly a full run of coverage in terms of how much they're hitting it by.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest. Backing Danny Duffy is a tough sell for me, Higgins. But the Rays have not been the team we all thought. Their pitching's been up and down a little bit to start the year. They haven't been hitting like we're accustomed to the Rays hitting. So when you're playing a team like the Royals who can put up a ton of runs and your pitching is, we'll say, questionable right now because I believe in Glasnow. I believe in Castillo. There are a few guys in there that I still believe in, but it has not lived up to the normal Rays pitching ability. So I'll say when you're playing the home run hitting Royals, I think you're within reason, but I can't say I fully support this one, Higgins, because backing Danny Duffy is a scary proposition.
Hey, you're talking down on my boy Danny Duffy right now, and he has had two starts so far this season. Has only allowed one run, both of them quality starts, 6 innings, got wins in both of them, has 11 strikeouts on the season. You just talked on how Tampa Bay has been questionable. Danny Duffy's had a strong start this season, so come on, let's make it 3 straight with a good home win against Tampa Bay. Get a third, come on.
I'm I'll be cautiously optimistic for you, I guess. I don't believe in the Danny Duffy start. I would sell high. But that's one person's take, right? Like, I hope he stays hot for you because you have money on the game and I do not. So I'm all in on Danny Duffy, Higgins. I'm on the Danny Duffy train tomorrow or Monday.
Well, you might think I have another questionable pick then, Brett. My last pick, I'm going against the Dodgers. It's going Seattle plus 1.5 at home at plus 105 value. I find that to be fantastic value. Seattle is 9-4 so far to start their, 12-4 to start their season against the spread. They are top in the MLB, covering 75% of their games. I know you have the Dodgers, who are in third right now in the MLB with a 11-5 record, and the Dodgers are a heavy hitting team, but plus 1.5. Dustin May versus Justice Sheffield. We'll see if Seattle can get some runs on Dustin May. It'll be interesting, but they're going to have to. Dustin May is a big arm.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one. The Dodgers won't let May go very deep into games. They'll pull him early and they'll use the bullpen. But I don't know what the Mariners are going to do with Justice Sheffield. He was a top prospect at one point. I don't know if he's really lived up to that billing, to be quite honest, but he's a solid pitcher. And, obviously you're taking the home team plus a run and a half. So if they're down, they will get last licks. And if they're up, hopefully they don't need it. Hopefully their guy can close out the game.
These are also the probable pitchers as of Sunday night, Brett. And as we have seen, those can change. Those can change. So maybe I like these values enough right now that I'm going to lock them in without their pitchers. I think I'm going to do that with like the Dodgers Seattle game. I'm going to do that with the White Sox Red Sox game. The Rays Royals game, I think I want to lock that pitcher in as the listed with Danny Duffy, though. I think after what we talked about, I'm going to stick with my boy Danny Duffy.
All aboard the Danny Duffy trade, man. God bless. Good luck. Hold on to your hats.
All right, before we get out of here, the Levy Lock pick of the pod. Neither of us had much luck last week, Brett, but you still have the lead on the year, so it's still your honors.
Yeah, I picked the Capitals. I guess I was a night early, Higgins. What could you say? Boston takes on the Bulls at home, Higgins, and I like Boston -6. Vucevic has been rough, or the Bulls, excuse me, have been rough since acquiring Vucevic. No Zach LaVine, Jason Tatum playing great basketball. Celtics have been a lot better since Marcus Smart is back. So just give me the Celtics -6. I just think it's the right side to be on.
Okay, fair enough. I'm also sticking in the NBA with my pick of the pod, though, so we'll see how these two go. Maybe we both get our NBA picks right. I'm going with my Jazz -4.5 against the Los Angeles Lakers pick, Brett. It's partly because the Beginners Boulevard that we had off the board, right after I took this, it was pulled off the board, so I'm a little curious to see where that line's actually going to open up back again to. But I also like it because it's the Lakers without LeBron, without AD, and the Lakers just got an overtime win against the Jazz on Saturday night where Caldwell Pope played big. You had Drummond play big. I don't expect that you're going to see those two plus Schroeder also play big again. I think the Jazz are going to get this. -4.5 is some fair value even without Donovan Mitchell.
All right. Well, we'll have to see on Monday night if we come out winners, Higgins.
Yes, we will. Make sure to follow us on social media, as always, at NBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel, where we do give out some picks in between episodes. This has been episode 133 of the Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.